Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Alice Rouse, author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie. You guys know. For everybody just joining us, where you can find my book, these other books that I'm author of as well, my merchandise, my Patreon, the cocktail or beer of the day. Go down in that description and fiddle about because you know how much I love it. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for all the love, all the support, all the amazing ideas and friendships, and for everybody that has my back. You guys rock. And welcome to all the new people. I hope you enjoy it here. This isn't your typical groupie podcast or channel, whatever. I tell it like it is, from bottom up. It's just the way life is on the road. I've never known much of anything else, so that's all I know. So all you new people, sit down, relax, do some watching, join the awesome community we have here. You're going to have a good time. Speaking of good time, today we're going to do another reading because you guys are really enjoying it. I really love the fact that you guys really see a different aspect and personality to the book by me reading it. And because so much of this stuff was done in Salt Lake City, we are going to do a local and something that I don't normally drink. And this is probably one of the first ones I've ever drank. And that's going to be a hard water by our local Uinta. Now, this is a cherry limeade like you used to get at, the drive-in with the curly fries or your cheesy fries and stuff. So I figured this might be good. Again, it's a hard limeade by Uinta. So good, you guys. We're going to see. Well, we'll see if it's good. So everybody, grab your limes, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktail and rocktail. Ooh, you know what? Maybe I should have put this over ice and made it more of a slushy, but we'll see how it tastes. All right, everybody. Cheers, big ears. Okay, it does taste just like one of the drive-in limeade. So good. I think next time I'm going to try it in the slushy and see how it goes. All right, you guys. And today, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of a reading. And we're going to read about kind of a struggle. Because there were several signs over my groupie career, and especially when I was younger in the 80s, my first few years of rock and roll, that this was really my path, that the rock and road family was, in fact, my second family. And several avenues in my life kind of showed me the signs, because there are signs. So we're going to read a little bit about that. We're going to read about another David Lee Roth episode, because, as we know, David Lee Roth was my first rock star. First few things, really. And he's someone that I saw again and again over the years. So this is the second time, not the time Kristen and I talked about, but the second time that I saw David Lee Roth. And it's also a little bit of the struggle I had from being a high school girl to a rock chick. See, I'm going to put this saying right here that I have, that someone once said to me. Pause to read it. And it was really, really true. That the road will change you in some of the most wonderful ways. And the road family is some of the best people you'll ever meet. And you'll have some amazing adventures. And this is one of my crossroads. And this is December of 1986. I had gone back to my high school with Jay. So Jerry was, I'll just call her real name. I kind of abbreviated names in the book because I wanted to protect people's privacy. But this girl's name was Jerry. She was someone I hung around with a lot in high school. We'd cruise and pick up boys. They hated, the girls that I hang out with in high school hated the fact that I hung out with rock bands. They didn't want my reputation rub off onto them. And this is a time where they thought more than my reputation, but I didn't care. So I had gone back to my high school with Jerry feeling a little colder towards me. It was if I had the bad reputation flu, and she was afraid of catching it from me. While still friends, I could feel the cracks begin to form. It was kind of like that with going to school in general. Once the word got out that I had hung out with a famous rocker for the whole night and gone alone with him to his room, no matter what had really happened, I was tainted and now the school slut. I mean, despite the fact I had only dated one boy from my high school. Yeah. Dated him after I came back from Vegas after John died too, so. People and their labels. So, okay. Forget the fact I had only been with one guy from our school and most people weren't even aware of it. And David Lee Roth before I had even come to Salt Lake City. I was no slut by 80s standards. While it bothered me, I mostly didn't care. I could waste my breath and try to get people to believe the truth that I hadn't had sex with anyone that night, and we're talking about Metallica, but it would have been futile because most of you who know my first night with James Hetfield, I walked out on him. I didn't lay down and just do what he asked me to do. I walked the fuck out. I knew who I was at that age. I know who I am now. And in the end, the only reputation I cared about was the one I was trying to build in rock and roll. I tried doing the right thing and pleased my mom, pleased my friends, pleased my high school society in general. I made my good grades, partied the weekends away with the rocker cool kids, and smoked in the back parking lot where they hung out. But that effort would only last a few months. David Lee Roth was coming to town. Had to get my fix. How was I supposed to not go? I mean, and I went to a high school where everybody had money and everybody was at the concerts. Like, my high school had 3,000 people. I'd say around 2,000 of them filled that arena. So, I was very seen in every concert by everybody I went to school with. I mean, David Lee Roth was my first ever and my first introduction to my new addiction. Not knowing anyone else to go with, I went with the other two girls from my part of the rocker clique from school and met up with more guys from our school. You know, those kind of East Side rich rockers who think Bon Jovi is hardcore. After being manhandled by the likes of James Hetfield, they were definitely no comparison. How could they be? They were just young rocker boys, and here I was, perusing a world of older gentlemen. And not that much older. Let's face it, they were about 22, 23, so not like 40s. I waited till I was 18 and Robert Plant came to town for that. Okay. I was the outsider of the group, standing in the middle of my rock and roll home, the Salt Palace. But my place was not on this side of the gates. Fuck it. I knew even then that my high school friends would be fleeting at best. I walked away from the huddle of Brighton High hellions and went to where Jerry and I had been before. It worked then, why not now? And that was like if you're facing the stage, you go to the side of the stage where the gates are, you know, the little screechy metal gates that separate the worlds. Because there are two different worlds, one in front of the stage and one behind that stage. So different. But so anyway, you stand there. Sometimes in the 80s, a lot of roadies will notice you and give you a pass. So that's what I was doing. So this is pretty early on in my groupie career. I started this is about a year in. Year and a half. Okay. It didn't work now because the damn lights went down and David Lee Roth hit the stage. Fuck! I was not having fun this time around. I wanted to be in the world that is on the other side of the screechy gates. I wanted to be taken by DLR that night. I turned and looked back to the stage to watch the band make their entrance. I saw girls sitting on shoulders as the lights burst the concert to life and the band popped onto the stage for the party. I was looking to see if David Lee Roth would look my way. I spent the whole first song willing it. Nothing at all. The band was too interested in the girls hovering above the crowd. They could see them all, clear as bells. These are girls that were sitting on shoulders of other guys, because we used to do that in concerts in the 80s. Girls would sit on the guys' shoulders, so you could have a bird's eye view, literally. And the guys could have an eye view of the birds. Well then, that is where I should be, hovering at eye level to the band. I began to surf the crowd looking for a guy's shoulders until I found one that was eyeballing me. I had a plan. You know I did. because every groupie has a plan how to get to her favorite rocker. I let him approach me and wasted no words. This was an urgent situation and time was of the essence. He squatted down and I straddled his neck, my black leather miniskirt squished up around my thighs. Thank God I was wearing panties that night. I guided him to as close to the front and center stage as we could get. He stood sturdy and steady as the band began their third song. DLR came back out from the side of the stage and looked right at me. He got a crooked smile across his face. You know that smile, ladies. I'm not sure if it was because he recognized me or just another day of being a horny rock star. But as he began singing his next song, his eyes lingered on me, praying. As the song went on, he made the motion for me to pull up my shirt and show him what I had. And what I had was a little girl bra because, ladies, we all know we grow up through our knickers, our bras, our panties. They get much more ladylike as we get older. And while my bra was a little lacy, it was still a little girl bra. The leather skirt and white studded top may have been grown up enough, but the undies were still a work in progress. I snuck the bra off under my shirt and tossed it behind me for all to see before I grabbed at the hem of my shirt. Because I was not going to have him see my little girl bra. I wanted to see my big girl boobies. I could see Jerry and the rest of the Brighton crowd standing horrified in awe to the left of the corner, out of the corner of my eyes. This would be the defining moment. And it really was. Would she or wouldn't she? If I did, I would surely become even more of an outsider than I was. And an outsider is exactly what I became. I lifted my shirt and exposed my small, perky girls for David Lee's approval. He liked them before, so why not now? Now seemed to be no different. Soon after I lowered my top, David Lee went to the side of the stage and spoke to a roadie. The roadie came off the side of the stage and walked to where the local security guards kept a vigil. He motioned for the crowd to make room for me and my man camel, that's what I call guys who I ride on their shoulders at concerts, man camels, because they're my camels getting me through the desert. I motioned for my man camel to come to the front row. As we approached the roadie, his hands came up and dismounted me from the guy's shoulders like a jockey's assistant and swooped me away back to the world where I belonged. The side of the stage. Oh, home sweet home. It's not a concert for a groupie unless you're on the side of the stage or the FOH. As long as you're in the band's protected world. Okay, where was I? I never looked back. I knew at that moment that I would not have a ride home. I was on my own and would have to call my mom to come and get me. So what? I was home, and tonight home would once again be locked behind a hotel room door with David Lee Roth. I was deposited onto the side of the stage and brought some champagne. My favorite. I love champs. This was an upgrade from the Aussie's beer. David Lee Roth watched me dance and seduce him for the rest of the show. Between a song or two, he came over and made small talk. Like, what was my name? Okay, so he doesn't remember me, but who cares? I snagged him again. Well done, little groupie girl. I saw my high school friends in the crowd waving excitedly, but still disapproving. I tuned them out and focused on the seduction I was involved in. After the show, David Lee usually throws a little backstage party in a random room. Tonight, he wasn't feeling like being so sociable, but would prefer a low-key get-together. The roadie that had plucked me up from him had told me. I was taken in the Marriott van with the roadie to the hotel. I went up to the private concierge floor where many rockers kept their rooms, as it was a privately keyed entry floor. The roadie deposited me into a suite and shut the door behind me, after settling me in with some more alcohol and MTV. Those roadies know what us young girls in the 80s liked. booze and MTV, but I was actually living MTV. I was an MTV sweet. Because David Lee Roth was all over MTV at the time. I was told David Lee would be there soon, just to make myself comfortable. We all know that, don't we, ladies? I always tell, just make yourself comfortable. It's okay. I always hear that. And comfortable I was. I really, really loved this nymphish feeling of being the selected lover for the most desirable man. Holed up and waiting for a secret rendezvous. David Lee was bypassing his own after party because he had found exactly what he needed for the night. And so had I. I was officially a groupie. This was it. There was no turning back. Now I just needed his royal rock ass up here so I could get on with my reign already. In other words, I wanted to sit on his throne. It's a lovely throne. And that could mean down here or up here. Both were just equally as fun. According to a groupie I unfortunately came to know later on, David Lee, that would be Cammie, the one where I talk about her in Eric Carr, the linebacker that tried to keep me from Eric. According to Cammie, that I had unfortunately come to know later on, David Lee made his way from his car through the hotel lobby. She was among some girls that knew his road manager and tried to inject themselves into the night through their familiarity. David wasn't having it, and his manager swooped him up with excuses about getting up early in the morning. They were shunned and not happy about it. And I know this because Cammie told me about this later on. And I was like, oh, he bypassed you because I was waiting for him in his room. He already had me there. David Lee Roth came into his suite as I sat on the couch waiting for his presence. I had decided to lose my clothes and wait for him naked. And this was bold. You know, this was me discovering my prowess, my sexuality, my desires and stuff. So this was kind of one of my first bold moves in that department, which really excited me. Okay. So when he walked into the room, there was no question about what I wanted. I had never done that before and was excited and turned on by the brazenness of it. Apparently, so was David Lee. He came over with his big boy smile on his face and pulled me up from the chair to him. He wrapped my legs right around him. Aha, let me see those up close, he said through his Cheshire grin, and began to devour my little underaged breasts. I went weak at his touch and fell into his chest. That chest, always sturdy. He took me over to the bed where we spent the rest of the night wide awake. And yes, girls, he was up early in the morning. I never did ask him if he remembered me, though. It never came up in conversation. But in the end, I never cared if he did. Like I said, I was just happy that I had caught that big fish again. Because David Lee Roth was one of the big fishes of the 80s. Like, he was one of the most sought-after rock stars to put on groupie notches. I had fed my rock and roll addiction with one of the finest specimens of our time. Plus, I had gained a habit on how to get my ass backstage at the gig. Now, I just had to master the night before thing. Because I hadn't really, I always tell you guys they're at the hotel bar and stuff, but I was still learning this myself. Like, we all learn somehow, some way, and I just happened to learn naturally. Now I just had to master the night before thing. But either way, I was up and running. I went back to school with a different reputation. My girlfriends were standoffish, and the guys were judgmental. I never understood that. They were all teasing each other in the back of cars and having secret drunk hookups on the weekends. How could they put a label on me for staying the night with David Lee? If only they knew it wasn't the first time. But again, while it did hurt my young feelings, I felt the comfort of rock and roll more than I did their little world. In rock and roll, I was treated like a princess for the night. The fact that I was going to have sex with someone was no reason to look down on me. In fact, I was adored for it. Not that is why I became a groupie. Oh no. But when one has the urge to have lots of sex and succumb to their hormones, why the hell not with rock stars? I mean, really, go big or go home. I mean, I was given the choice between awkward, quick-shooting teenagers and experienced rock lovers who knew how to get a girl off and didn't need any instruction. Need I say more? I don't think so. Anyway, I was drifting away from the girls in my crowd at school and feeling the age difference. We all might have been in high school, but there was a vast difference between how we approached our ages and our lives. They were high school girls enjoying their teenage years in a more regular, innocent way with dances and house parties when parents were out of town. I was on the verge of becoming a woman at a man's leisure, a nymphish woman that had anything at her fingertips and handed over on silver platters from the musicians and the roadies. I was to be coddled behind the stages of some of the most desirable men in the world and expected to keep up with their habits. And running with the devil is exactly what I did. I strapped on my groupie boots full times and hurdled the backstage gates with all the gusto of Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. So that was one of my defining moments in me choosing, because it really was, I was kind of forced to choose between my high school crowd and my rock family. And who's here to this day? Not my high school crowd, one or two people. And they were all talking shit about me behind my back, but yet kissing my ass when Motley Crue came to town. So this was kind of something I learned from them early on about two-facedness, hypocrisy, judgment, stuff like that. And I think it's natural that people gravitate away from that, or they get caught up in it. So I chose to gravitate away from it and become more friends with Kristen and put my heart and soul into rock and roll, or lifeblood, as someone once said. It was just my natural path. John Entwistle said it best. He used to say, in a previous life, all these rockers, roadies, groupies, we were pirates and wenches and stuff in a past life, and we made a pact that we would come back in the next life all together and do it again even better. And that's what it is. That's what I feel. Just that natural, our souls knew each other type of draw. So I kind of really gave up, knew that that was really kind of the first of my reputation in high school changing from cute little small town girl to big town little groupie whore. You know, but like I said, it was all hypocrisy, like it is to this day. And I've done episodes on this subject before. So that was, I learned early on how to make my own decisions and be my own woman. Which I think a lot of groupies do. A lot of real groupies, not the ones who emulate, but the ones who actually really live the road family, the real groupie just existence, that have the long stories, the heartbreak, the lost panties and everything to back it up. And this was one of my defining moments. I knew the second I lifted up my shirt to show him my bells, I was going to be shunned at school. I knew it, but I didn't care. And that's that. Still have not looked back. And we all have a lot more defining moments than just that one, but this was really early on in my career that was kind of a groupie career. It's not a career, because those who call themselves professional groupies, that's a slap to being a groupie, because if you're professional, you're getting paid. If you're getting paid to adore, have sex, and all this stuff, you are a hooker, prostitute, and murderer, which we all know I don't like. So this was just my path in life that I was meant to take. And I was finally just first realizing that here's my old soul family. Let's go find them. Let's go hang out with them. Let's go be where my soul is happy. And it was so happy that night with David Lee Roth, because ladies, we all know David Lee Roth is fun as fucking bed. I mean, it is toss you around, roll you on the floor, slam you up against the wall, break the hotel TV, and clean you up with a towel in the morning. Kind of good time with him. All right, you guys. I hope you really enjoyed today's reading. I just really appreciate you guys having fun with it and everything that you've done to help build the community here and make these episodes really awesome. So thank you guys so much. And for everybody just haunting the channel, that 43%, go down. Get the party started, because that's how we do it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit my bells, and we'll see you here next time on Cocktails and Rocktails. Cheers, big ears.